There's a moment before the trumpets, before the dust, before the charge, when every man on that field feels the same thing. Not fear, not courage, a stillness so sharp it cuts the noise out of the world. The Knights Templar knew that moment intimately. They built their entire existence around it. Steel in the hand, vow in the chest, and a face that gave nothing away. And if you think this is a dusty medieval story about castles and crosses, you've missed the deeper truth. The Templar mindset is not about swords. It's about leverage. It's about living in a way where your presence bends outcomes without raising your voice, where your silence moves money across continents, and your self-control terrifies people who mistake noise for power. You've been taught to chase permission, to explain your plans, to beg for certainty. The Templars inverted that. They made themselves the permission. They built a life where yes and no came from their own code, not from a crowd. And what I'm going to show you is how that old blueprint, those vows, symbols, roots, and rituals map perfectly onto your modern battles, boardrooms, timelines, relationships, the endless digital coliseum. If you want to stop reacting and start deciding, if you want a presence that feels like a fortress, then you need to borrow the Templar spine. Let's begin at the gate you've been avoiding: identity. The Templars didn't have a brand. They had a vow you could see from 100 paces. White mantle, red cross. Clean, uncompromising. Not because it looked cool on a tapestry, but because it did something deeper. It collapsed hesitation. When a Templar rode into a town, there was no guessing game. The garment did the speaking. We keep our word. We are dangerous in one direction and reliable in the other. You couldn't bribe that fabric. You couldn't negotiate its meaning. It told you what was about to happen, and once a garment can do that, the man inside it becomes myth. You do this every day and don't realize it. You scroll through a feed, you walk into a room, and before you open your mouth, you've already announced 1,000 tiny abandoned vows. The Templar mindset cleans all that. One symbol, one sentence you're willing to be measured against when it gets expensive. I finish. I protect my time. I don't answer to chaos. You don't have to embroider anything on your chest, but people should feel it as if you did. If your calendar, your language, and your posture don't match that vow, you've already lost the stillness before the trumpets. You're just rattling inside borrowed armor. The second gate, discipline that looks like serenity. Everyone imagines knights swinging wildly with fire in their eyes. That's fantasy. The Templar advantage wasn't rage, it was interval, distance, the refusal to fight every battle put in front of them. They knew that patience wins more territory than passion, not because patience is gentle, but because it's lethal over time. Think of your day, requests, pings, invitations to explain yourself, perform for strangers, prove your sincerity. Each one is a peasant throwing a stone at a fortress wall. If the garrison sprints out every time to chase the thrower, the castle falls from the inside. The Templars learn to let the wall take the hit. The stones don't matter. The structure does. You reinforce the structure, morning rituals, precise windows when you decide, unbreakable endings, clean stop times. People will call you distant, cold, rude. Accept this. The castle is not there to be liked. It is there to make your time sacred. Third gate, the audacity to operate on two planes at once. The Templars weren't just fighters, they were logisticians. They drew invisible lines across nations where faith and finance shook hands in private. Protection for pilgrims on the surface, deep accounting underneath. Contracts in a world that still believed muscle beat mathematics. That's the move nobody expects from you. They see your visible talent and think they know your game. They don't. Because while you're performing in daylight, you're building the roots at night, systems that move effort, reputation, and capital with or without you. If your work vanishes when you shut your laptop, you don't have a system. You have a Sabbathless fire. The Templars didn't ride with gold in their saddlebags. They rode with trust that could cache itself anywhere they'd drawn a line. Do the same. Turn favors into written protocols. Turn applause into distribution. Turn a one-time win into a chain you can pull when you're asleep. You're wondering, what about enemies? What about smear? Rivalry, betrayal, the quiet knives people throw when they can't touch you openly. The Templars understood that too, not through moral perfection, but via predictable reactions. When a Templar was attacked in public, he didn't sprint to the town square to announce innocence. He let the order speak. The silence of many voices can be louder than one man's defense. You think you need to fight narrative with narrative. You don't. You fight narrative with structure, a chain of people who benefit from your continued existence, a rhythm of delivery that embarrasses accusations simply by arriving on time. Most whispers die, not because you crushed them, but because you ignored them long enough to make the whisperer repeat himself. And nothing looks weaker than repeating the same grievance to a silent house. But the Templar mind goes further. Silence is only the first layer. The next layer is redirection. If someone questions your route, hand them the map calmly. Show me your route. This does two things. It turns an attack into a request for leadership, and it tests whether your accuser can carry the weight they demanded you carry. Most can't. They were betting on your defensiveness, not on their competence. And the few who can? Good. You just found a worthy ally to put at the front of the convoy. The fourth gate, austerity. Not the kind that parades itself with cheap heroics, but the quiet refusal to worship comfort. The Templars had rules, how they dressed, what they ate, when they could speak, how they slept. The point wasn't suffering, it was clarity. In modern language, this means you stop arguing with gravity. You reduce the number of maybes your day allows to survive. You make your environment say yes to your vow without asking you politely. People will tell you you're extreme. They're right. Extremes are how you bend the middle. If your life is designed by default, your enemy is the default. And defaults win because they never get tired. Your vow has to be stronger than autopilot. That's the only math that matters. Now, leverage. The Templar cross wasn't scary because it was pretty. It was scary because it meant consequence. You could touch a common man's cart and nothing would happen. You touch the Templar's cart and you're not fighting a man. You're fighting a network. They learned something that most of you run from. If your work doesn't accumulate, your battles never end. Accumulation is what makes a symbol heavy. The more clean deliveries you have, the more past promises you've kept, the less you need to argue about your next promise. Do you know why some people can say no without consequences? Because their yes is rare and historically sharp. If your yes means nothing, your no will be punished. Build a record that makes people pause before they test you. That pause is worth more than all your speeches. There's a legend you're carrying that will ruin you if you don't throw it down right now. That purity wins. That nice people finish first if the crowd is educated enough. The Templars didn't live in that fairy tale. They understood coalition. Often, the right move wasn't to pick a perfect ally. It was to pick the ally who needed them the most tomorrow. When you choose partnerships, stop asking who is perfect. Ask who is invested. Who loses something real if you fail? That's the man who will ride through the night. And if you think that's cynical, look at your own history. Who showed up? Not the one with the prettiest values poster, the one with a stake in the outcome. In your world, stakes look like skin in the project, a shared downstream metric, a contract with teeth, or a schedule that punishes drift. You don't need to become cruel. You need to become binding. This is where the Templar austerity meets modern persuasion. Your enemies try to bait you into the public brawl. Explain yourself. Clarify your intentions. Prove your goodness. Smile. You don't wrestle on wet grass. You redirect the fight to dry ground where the rules favor composure. Tell them to put it in writing. Ask for specific claims and timestamps. Shift emotion to evidence. Not because evidence always wins the internet. Far from it. But because it builds a private file that outlasts the comment storm. A Templar ledger wasn't sexy, but it could move a kingdom's worth of coin. Build your ledgers, quiet proof that you keep your word, that you deliver, that you warned when others laughed, that you didn't flinch when the weather turned. When the public asks for fireworks, your ledger hands you thunder later. Let's talk about fear, not being afraid, making others cautious. The Templars were terrifying, not because they were loud, but because they were predictable in the one way that matters. If you crossed a line, responses arrived. There was no theater, just consequence. Your life needs lines like that, lines you whisper once and never debate again. I don't reschedule the first meeting. I don't answer after midnight. I deliver on Fridays. You don't scream these into a policy PDF no one reads. You live them. 2 breaches, total, and then you act. People will test you. They have to. They're mapping your fortress. Every time you hold the line calmly, silently, you redraw their map. That's how caution spreads. Not through memes, through quiet stories other people tell about you when you're not in the room. Careful. He doesn't budge on that. Careful. She doesn't attend drama. Careful. If they say Friday, they mean Friday. But the Templar path isn't only hard edges. There's a softness inside the steel that looks like mercy and is actually design, hospitality. Imagine arriving at a Templar house after days on a dangerous road. You find food, safety, a plan, and a man who isn't impressed by your riches or scared by your poverty. That feeling of a room run by adults changes people. They remember, they come back, they defend that room when others try to wreck it. This is your advantage in a world of volatile men. Be the room. Don't be another high-strung animal on the timeline. Be the place where agitation goes to calm down. The reward is not applause. It's the gravity you gain. The best allies don't join you because you shouted the loudest. They join because your air is clean. You're going to ask me about collapse. The Templars were powerful, and then they were not. So what good is any of this if it can be taken away in a single decree? The answer is not nostalgia. It's geometry. Empires fall. Orders fall. But while they stand, they teach geometry. How to shape time, how to route trust, how to bind men without screaming. You're not here to cosplay a past century. You're here to steal the geometry and apply it. The lesson from their end isn't never build. It's don't mistake your structure for your soul. The vow can migrate. The symbol can evolve. A fortress can become a family, a company, a craft that outlives paperwork. If everything you are is tied to a single institution, you've built a cage. If your vow is portable, you can walk out of any fire carrying everything that matters. We've talked about vows, silence, systems, austerity, leverage, coalition, hospitality, consequence, and geometry. You think that's a lot? It isn't. It's one thing with different faces, composure, not a bland calm that says, I'm okay with anything, but a weaponized calm that says, I will decide what matters, and I will do it on time. You can fake this for a week. You can't fake it for a year. The only way is to make your life so narrow that your vow can hold it. That means quitting the performances that help strangers love you. It means training your body to recognize the shame of breaking your line. It means choosing quiet rituals over public theater. It means building roots for your work so you can deliver even when the road is closed. And it means teaching others how to treat you once, clearly, and then with action. Let me put you in a scene. Dawn, a town square. A petition against you is being passed around by men who never met you. A friend texts you the document. Your fingers heat up. Your mind starts building arguments, but you remember the vow, the line, the ledger. You check the claims, you note the times, you file what is real and ignore what is performance. You say nothing online. You make 2 calls. First, a partner who has stakes, asking them to verify the delivery dates you agreed on. Second, a client who actually uses your work, asking what they need this week and committing to it in writing. At noon, you send a clean, short message, delivering Friday per contract. No hashtags, no crowd-pleasing speech. On Friday, you deliver. On Monday, your partner repeats a story in a room you're not in. They never missed. The petition doesn't vanish. It sinks. Stories beat statements, and the story of a man who keeps his word is heavier than the story of a man who can write a convincing thread. Another scene. You're at a table. Someone with fast eyes throws a soft insult disguised as a joke. The old you tightens up. The new you, Templar spine. You sip water. Glance once around the table with a quiet amusement, and let the room carry the moment. If the silence stretches, you turn to the nearest competent person and open the floor. I'm curious about your take on the timeline. The room flips. The joke dies of natural causes. Later, someone tells you, I liked how you handled that. You didn't handle anything. You let the fortress wall do its job. You stayed inside. You didn't run out to chase a stone. You saved your cavalry for the only battle that matters. Delivery. Another. Midnight, a small screen trying to make you feel urgent about something that isn't your line. You're tempted to answer. You don't. You sleep. In the morning, the problem is smaller. Half of the people who were shouting have moved on to the next circus. The ones still here are the ones you should talk to. You talk to them privately, specifically, with consequences that make sense. They leave with clarity instead of adrenaline. You continue your route. Here's the part nobody wants to practice because it's not glamorous. Maintenance. The Templars didn't wake up inspired. They woke up inside a clock they had designed. If you leave your days up to motivation, you will do whatever your feelings tell you to do, which means you will do whatever someone else can make you feel. You are not building a mood. You are building a bell that rings whether you're happy or not. You write when the bell rings. You train when the bell rings. You deliver when the bell rings. And when you fall off, because you will, you don't spiral. You sweep. You repair. You ring the next bell. This is not rigid. It's forgiving. The bell doesn't judge you. It just rings. The magic is not in the intensity of one day. It's in the predictability of 100. The most intoxicating part of the Templar myth is not the sword or the symbol. It's the aura. The feeling that certain men had decided something so deeply that weather could not touch it. You can smell that aura in any century. A chef who sends back his own dish politely because it's not on standard. a surgeon who asks for the room to be quiet and every person obeys without resentment, a teacher who never raises her voice and never loses control. Aura is not charisma, it's consequence plus stillness. You can build it. People will try to name it for you: confidence, arrogance, control freak, monk mode, leader, and none of the names will matter because the underlying geometry will keep working. At the end of the road is the thing you think you want, a life where your name carries weight. Not because you've begged strangers to adore you, but because your vow pressed itself into time. But there's a deeper end. The Templars knew it, and they didn't put it on banners. The end is a day when you don't need to prove to yourself that you're serious. Your rooms are in order, your roots work, your no is accepted, your yes is rare. The blackmail of other people's moods doesn't land anymore. Crisis comes. You move like you moved yesterday and last week and last year. People call it stoicism or strategy or stubbornness. It's none of those. It's recognition. You recognize the moment before the trumpets, and you know that if you stand very still and hold your vow, the world will organize itself around that stillness. Not because the world is kind, because the world is weak for gravity. You will be tempted after this to make a list, to write a manifesto, to post a thread, resist. The Templar mindset isn't a poem to read on a good day. It's the wall you hit when you're tired and want to scroll instead of deliver. It's the quiet no you give your own mind when it invites you to perform for people you don't respect. It's the hand you withhold from your own panic when it begs to respond right now. If you need a ceremony, make it small. A piece of clothing you wear when you're on the route. A desk you keep clear no matter what. A phrase you say to yourself when you feel the old itch to chase every thrown stone. The wall can take it. Say it and mean it. That's discipline disguised as mercy because it saves the cavalry for where they belong. The decisive charge you only make 3 or 4 times a year that changes everything. And when you must speak, because sometimes you must, speak like a ledger reads. Short, dated, specific. Delivered Friday. We don't do rush work. Put it in writing, not because you're above humanity, but because you respect it enough to stop playing with it. People will learn slowly that you are not for sale on Tuesdays. They will learn that you lead by silence until it's time to move, and then you move like a door slamming softly. They will learn that you don't threaten, you count. They will learn that when you say later, later arrives, and the ones who cannot live without chaos will leave you. Let them. Your fortress has limited rooms, and the road is long. In the end, you will have fewer friends than the loud man, fewer fans than the performer, fewer compliments than the flatterer, but you will have the one thing they trade away every day, an inner court that doesn't hold trials, it simply runs. You won't be equal, which is the real crime in our age. You will be consistent. And consistency is heresy to the mob because it can't be baited. That is why the aura grows. Not because you do exotic things, but because you do simple things on time while everyone else burns out trying to be extraordinary for a week. This is the Templar mindset, translated without cosplay. Choose one vow, visible from 100 paces. Build a wall that can take stones so your cavalry stays rested. Draw routes under the surface so your work moves when you sleep. Let silence do your anger's work. Replace audiences with ledgers. Bind men with stakes, not slogans. Make consequence predictable. Keep a clean room where agitation loses. Wear austerity like a private smile. And when collapse comes, as it always does for anything that grew, walk out calmly with your vow in your pocket and start again. You don't need a sword. You need a schedule heavy enough to cut through noise. You don't need a banner. You need a presence that makes people lower their voice. You don't need to convince strangers. You need to become very difficult to move. If you do that, if you hold the stillness before the trumpets instead of trading it away for cheap applause, you'll feel something change. Mornings stop arguing with you. Evenings stop accusing you. The day becomes a road again, not a crowd. You'll ride it like a man who knows where he's going. And when the world tries to pull you into the square to confess your weaknesses to people who don't care, you'll smile and say nothing. Not because you're scared to speak, because your life is already saying it better than you ever could. Here's the quiet trick that unlocks all of this. You're waiting to feel like the sort of person who can live this way. That person is never coming. The vow creates the person. The route creates the rider. The bell creates the discipline. You make one decision, just one, that looks small and feels too strict. You keep it for 7 days, then for a month. Then you stack a second. You don't post about it. You don't ask for witnesses. And a year from now, someone who used to bait you for sport will hesitate before sending the message. They'll think he won't answer. That hesitation is your new weather. You can plant crops in it. You can raise a house. You can build a life that doesn't flinch when a stone hits the wall at noon. And that's the whole point. Not to become a statue. Not to become a saint, to become unavailable to chaos, to turn your time into something other people can lean on, to make your presence a kind of architecture that calms rooms down, even when you're not in them. Not because you're performing serenity, but because you've removed everything that would threaten it. Your enemies will call it arrogance. Your friends will call it maturity. You don't need to name it. Work it. Let the stories travel without you. Let the cross be invisible and undeniable at the same time. Let the trumpets blow for someone else. You already moved at dawn. When the dust rises and the market panics and the dinner table heats and the feed goes red and the invitations to explain yourself come flying, remember the geometry. The wall can take it. The vow can hold it. The routes will carry it. The bell will ring again tomorrow. You will deliver, not because the world deserves it, but because you said you would. And when you do, in 1,000 small rooms you'll never see, people will lower their voices when they say your name. Not out of worship, out of relief. Out of the quiet knowledge that in a civilization of mood swings, somebody decided to be a road. That's how the Knights Templar mindset survives without a horse, without a banner, without a charter. Not as nostalgia, as a decision. The decision to be so composed, so precise, so consistent that chaos gives up and goes looking for easier prey. You can start this afternoon. You don't need permission. You don't need new gear. You just need to stop sprinting out of the gate every time a stone hits the wall. Stay inside. Let the fortress work. Save the cavalry. And when you ride, ride to end it. Because that's the secret no one tells you. The man who knows when not to charge is the only man whose charge ever matters. The rest is noise. The rest is smoke. The rest is a petition nobody reads in the long run. Hold your vow. Sharpen your roots. Keep your room clean. Speak like a ledger. Move on time. Let the world test the wall. It's built for this. So are you.